Welcome once again to Auto Mundial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week, Toyota finally makes a serious attempt at the all-electric space. But how does its urban cruiser stack up?
Plus, Audi wonders if its all-electric Q6 SUV will fare any better on ice than it does in an urban setting.
We've also got not one but two hyper-luxurious Continent cruisers from Rolls-Royce.
That's all coming up. First though, the news.
And it's a good day to be the owner of a classic Renault. The French car maker has announced a new programme aimed at supporting collectors and keeping vintage Renault cars on the road. Alongside 25 garages around France officially certified to service, repair and restore old models from the French manufacturer's history, international enthusiasts will also be able to order spare parts for their cars from a new website. Dubbed the Originals, the programme, according to Renault, is all about preserving its heritage for future generations. Models like the Renault 4, Renault 5, Dauphine and Fuego are all eligible to the service. The Originals Renault also features a collection of 50 repair manuals and assists collectors in sourcing paperwork and registering cars around the world. Whilst the motoring industry moves towards the future with new power sources, it's certainly good to see manufacturers keeping an eye on the past.
A few weeks ago, we spent some time with Audi's top-of-the-range electric SUV, the Q6. Too big for city driving, yet lacking the ease of use on longer journeys that hybrid tech provides, we saw it as a bit of a jack-of-no-trades. But now, with its latest concept, the Four Rings is hoping its largest E-TRON will finally become a master of one. This is the Audi Q6 E-TRON off-road concept, essentially a beefed-up executive SUV with all the ability to take on the last of the ski season's snow and ice. Massive off-road tyres and imposing light bar accessories are just the beginning when it comes to this creation. Building from the production specification Q6, this concept car gets bespoke suspension and portal axles for a 160mm ride height increase and greater travel. Along with retuned electric motors for a combined 510 brake horsepower and significant torque boost, that means the off-road concept will manage inclines of up to 45 degrees. But all we're interested in is its ability to drift through snowy banks across a frozen lake. Certainly not helping the Q6's cause when it comes to inner city manoeuvrability nor its range, we highly doubt a rugged SUV will join Audi's ranks anytime soon. But it's nice to know the once legendary rally outfit has not forgotten its roots.
Consistently among the best-selling cars in the UK, shipping a commendable 42,500 units in 2024, the Nissan Qashqai has been a popular SUV ever since its first release. But even in 2025, there are new models entering the fray, meaning the Qashqai will still have one eye firmly over its shoulder.
In fact, the VAUXHALL Frontera has recently been overhauled, getting all the bells and whistles of other Griffin-fronted designs, making for quite the charming product. And so the British manufacturer will have high hopes for the next 12 months. Taking the same Stellantis platform as other family cars like the Peugeot 2008 and Citroën C3, the Frontera adds boxy styling with nice chunky details. Design language we have previously liked on the Astra in particular. Inside, the family car does lose a smidge of that bolstered personality with its sea of flat seats, cheap plastics and oddly shaped steering wheel. But what it lacks in rugged strength, it makes up for with a nicely laid out, uncluttered cabin and large windows letting in lots of light. Meanwhile, a nice tall roof means the Frontera has a particularly large boot, with the third row of seats folded flat as long as you aren't afraid of stacking objects on top of each other to maximise the space. Electric and more conventional powertrains are available for the latest VAUXHALL. On the EV side of things, a 44 kilowatt-hour battery provides power to a 113 brake horsepower motor. Not the fastest model in the world, it does provide almost 250 miles of range, with fast chargers filling the tank from 20% in about 26 minutes. If you prefer not enduring half-hour pit stops on your motorway blasts, a mild hybrid model pairs a 1.2-litre petrol engine with a small electric motor and battery. The 48-volt system is available with either 100 or 136 bhp, both of which switch to EV-only driving modes at low speeds, dramatically improving fuel efficiency.
The Qashqai, on the other hand, is not available as a fully electric model. However, the so-called e-Power system sitting at the top of the Nissan's powertrain offerings uses a 3-cylinder engine as a generator, pumping electricity to either the 1.8 kilowatt-hour battery or the 190 brake horsepower electric motor, essentially acting as a range extender. The second of the two powertrains is far more traditional, a 1.3-litre 3-pot turbo helped along by a small electric motor much like the Frontera. At either 140 or 158 brake horsepower, the system does pump out a little more power than its rival, though by extension uses more fuel, achieving almost 10 miles per gallon less on combined routes. Inside, the Qashqai is certainly more elegant than the Frontera, with the addition of mood lighting in the dash and slightly nicer materials where you'd want them. Moreover, it gets Google systems built into its infotainment software, as well as the phone connectivity functionalities you would expect, something we very much like the sound of. Despite not providing the option of a third row of seats, the Qashqai gets a slightly larger boot to the tune of a shopping bag or two. But that does mean that you don't get the flexibility of 7 seats should you need them. Moreover, with its 1,800 kilo braked towing capacity, the Nissan outdoes the Frontera's 1.2 tons in hybrid specification. Certainly, caravan enthusiasts will want the extra capabilities of the Japanese staple. However, hitting the market from £30,000, it does feel like a pricey model for those not in need of towing abilities, especially when you consider the VAUXHALL's £23,500 starting price. And with both the hybrid and electric specification Frontera commanding the same price, we'd consider it an impressively affordable way into the EV lifestyle.
After the break, Volkswagen takes a stab at Audi's home ground, the super estate segment. Welcome back. Coming up,
where to, Lady Penelope?
Last year, Audi overhauled its lineup of saloon car offerings, splitting its models between fossil burners and eco-friendly EVs. As part of the move, the A6 went from a range topper to an all-electric model, available in either saloon or estate form. Alongside the more genteel model, the Four Rings also gave us the sportier S6, which in Avant form remains a fantastic all-rounder, combining hot handling and family functionality. Much like the regular A6, this gym-goer gets a spacious cabin, benefiting from a long wheelbase, meaning both front and rear passengers get good space to stretch out, though it may not look like it with its darkened design. Look past the compact windows and you'll see a sporty interior space that eggs you on into each and every corner. Though weighing in at almost 2.5 tons, we'd recommend keeping your right foot in check. Sitting on its PPE base, the S6 gets a 100 kilowatt-hour battery connected to a pair of electric motors. The standard A6's rear-mounted motor works in tandem with a front-mounted unit, combining to 550 brake horsepower and, as Audi describes it, a quattro all-wheel drive system. The 0 to 62 dash takes just under 4 seconds, with the top speed of 150 coming soon after. While in its combustion form before this year, the Audi S6 may have been available from around £75,000. New age tech has bumped the price up quite considerably, now sitting at a hard-to-swallow £100,000.
But what if you still have your heart set on a warm German estate sporting all-electric tech? Well, the people's car maker is here to help with its hottest model currently available, the Volkswagen ID.7 GTX. Available from little under £63,000, it represents a comparative bargain over the Audi. So how on earth does the four rings explain that near £40,000 chasm? Well, to kick things off, the ID.7 doesn't get the fancy benefit of the S6's premium platform electric, instead using the MEB platform as a base, same as every other Volkswagen ID model. That means 86 kilowatt hours of battery rather than 100 in its upper echelon rival, though only equating to around 30 miles less range. More than probably, we put that down to the Audi's far higher power output, some 200 brake horsepower more than the ID.7 GTX's 340. As a result, the people's car is about a second and a half slower to 62 and will top out at just 110 miles per hour. Certainly no track monster, those performance stats are all you realistically need in a practical family runabout that also doubles up as a B-road bruiser on the weekends. And much like the Audi, all-wheel drive from a dual-motor setup ensures this simmering estate will only step out of line if you tell it to. Visually, we definitely prefer the ID.7's looks from the outside over the fussy Audi. Smooth lines make for a streamlined body decorated with positively smiling details. Despite a marginally larger footprint, its simplistic approach to design also makes the ID.7 look smaller. Inside, it's the same story, but in reverse. A wide-open cabin with large windows and fewer details getting in the way makes for a spacious place to be, with lots more headroom for both rows of seats. Meanwhile, a larger wheelbase allows for a sizable boot with space for a further 2 carry-on bags over the Audi. At its more affordable starting price, the Volkswagen does away with the Audi's standard features like 3-zone aircon and larger screens, but a fully ticked options list will struggle to reach the heights of the four rings starting price tag. Certainly not quite the sports car its rival claims to be, the Volkswagen is like a fun-loving family member dressing up in athletic attire for Halloween. The Audi, on the other hand, is a single-minded athlete trying its best to smarten up for dinner with the in-laws. And we prefer the down-to-earth honesty of the cheaper model.
Earlier we checked out Audi's Q6 E-TRON in off-road trim, a model that could be likened to a seafaring mammal's first steps on land. Well, here you have the Toyota Urban Cruiser, an electric vehicle in a more evolved state. Like the first ape-like creature to discover the use of rocks as tools, finally understanding what his strong suit is and sticking to it. As its name suggests, this newest member to the Japanese marque's lineup is very much focused on city driving with its small footprint and more notably a tight turning circle. The Urban Cruiser is set to be the first in a 12-strong all-electric lineup for the Japanese brand by 2026 and is also the first model to sit on the company's new platform designed with lightness and interior space in mind. Under the floor lies a choice of battery options, either 49 or 61 kilowatt-hour with 3 power levels available. At the entry point sits the smaller power unit with a 142 brake horsepower motor on the front axle. That beefs up to 172 with the first of the longer range batteries, whilst an all-wheel drive model combines a larger battery with a pair of motors for 181 brake horsepower. At its most efficient, the urban cruiser should get about 250 miles from a charge, which certainly doesn't sound like much, but once again, this is a car destined for city limits, where the longest journey you will encounter will be the school run. Visually a high-riding car, this is essentially the EV equivalent of Toyota's Yaris Cross, and much like its combusting cousin, it offers a nice bright cabin with plenty of space for passengers both front and rear. Meanwhile, all the tech you would expect from a modern city car is well and truly present. Unveiled at last month's Brussels Motor Show, we will not be getting our hands on the urban cruiser until the second half of this year, so keep an eye out for all the information on AUTO Mundial.
Rolls-Royce and Bentley. It's a head-to-head that defined the world of automotive opulence turned collaboration of giants and back to fierce rivalry. Earlier this year, the Flying Bee featured on Cru's latest gift to the hyper-rich in the shape of the refreshed Bentley Flying Spur. Bodacious, broad and brutish, it represents everything that is Bentley, with its high-performance attributes blended with a focus on fancy outfitting. But not to be outdone, the heads at Goodwood have come together to build not one but two new Rolls-Royce models ready to take on this latest luxury limousine. But will the spirit of ecstasy take the lead in class once more? Following a renewed Cullinan SUV a few weeks ago, the British manufacturer has now also updated its pair of lower-slung products.
Sitting at a level of unobtainium that few will ever achieve is the Phantom, essentially the smaller model's long wheelbase equivalent. Or is it? Take a look at the manufacturer's range topper and you'll realise that several design cues set it apart from the lesser edition. Large design pieces fill a far taller body made up of fuss-free facades. It's only when getting up close and personal with key details that you'll notice this car's fresh coat of hand-applied paint. That is on the outside, as it's the cabin that truly gets a refresh in 2025. It may not look like it with its classically Rolls timeless design, but thanks to a new app dubbed Whispers, the Phantom is very much a 21st century model. It allows owners to control various onboard systems remotely or input journey destinations and routes from afar. Directions pop up on a screen in the dashboard hidden behind this rather sumptuous trim. As you would expect, the rest of the Phantom is all very opulent, very rich and very over the top. But as a rival to the Flying Spur, it perhaps goes a little too far towards the luxury side of things, and that is where this model comes in. The Rolls-Royce Ghost is a smaller, more accessible model in relative terms that should also give Benters a run for its money when you get into the driver's seat. So what are some rapid-fire notes to help tell the Ghost apart from the Phantom? Well, the easiest way to differentiate the two is from the front, as where the Phantom gets a proud, uprising nose, the Ghost is more subtle with a shorter front bumper, giving the model a lower visual centre of gravity and sportier stance. Moreover, the rear hips don't squat down towards the bumper, instead providing a continuous straight line to the tail for, in our opinion, a more stylish look. Inside, it's clear that Ghost owners are supposed to sit up front behind the steering wheel rather than in the back with a chauffeur. The rear seats are far tighter and don't get all the fabulous first-class functionality of the Phantom. The Ghost screen isn't hidden behind a shield of mahogany or whatever material you select, and everything seems to envelop the driver, true to the smaller car's attributes. Powering this sportier roller, as well as its longer wheelbase sibling, is the same 6.75-litre twin-turbo V12. In either case, all-wheel drive and all-wheel steering makes for a usable experience, as does the 8-speed automatic transmission. And whilst the Ghost is marketed as the Rolls-Royce for drivers, the marque sticks to its traditional discourse of never stooping to the level of discussing grotty numbers like horsepower or acceleration. So, you didn't hear this from us, but we reckon the new Ghost is quite the potent machine on tighter roads. If the Bentley Flying Spur feels a little cheap for you, the Ghost is certainly the car to go for.
Next time on Auto Mundial, Genesis Rescue is go, with an all-new concept ready for alpine slopes.